Good evening, keepers of the cash. Gary B, the casual comic guy here, and I hope everyone is having a fantastic week and getting it going. I am joined by our guest of the hour, none other than Brother John himself. It seems though that tonight, for the moment, we are without a co-host. We have one missing in action. Hopefully, they will join us, but that will not stop us from seeing the fantastic books that John brought with him and hearing the stories behind them. And
Absolutely.
as I speak it into existence, Digger Jim has joined us to see what his brother has. He would know better than anybody. Good evening, Jim.
You would.
Hey,
You would know.
Not much. All right, John, how are you doing this evening, sir?
I'm doing well. I had a little bit of computer issues earlier, but it seems to have worked itself out.
It's been going around lately, it seems.
yeah.
So, did you have fun picking out your books tonight?
I did. It came down to kind of being hard to limit it to just 10
That's the general consensus with
or
people.
11 plus. But yeah, it was fun. I was trying to go in some kind of theme, and then I just decided I would just go with stuff that I liked throughout my throughout my history.
Nice.
So
So, as I like to do, everyone in the audience and watching on the rewind, both these gentlemen, the links are in the description below to sub up whoever's here on the panel and who the guest is. So before we get going, John, I'm going to introduce the audience in a second that's watching in the chat. But first, give a quick synopsis of who you are and what your channel's about. And
sure.
if you have any annoying brothers or sisters that just kind of get on you.
Uh, I am Brother John Comics, or just John is fine. And my channel is kind of spark. I'm a CBC award nominee for unknown
There
channel,
you go.
which I thought was probably due to the fact that I'm pretty sporadic and lazy when it comes to producing content. But I looked at all the other nominees in that category, and they're kicking some butt. They're putting out some great stuff. So I'm pretty just do something when the spirit moves me. If I get something, or like to do different challenges. I haven't really found a consistent schedule yet, but maybe when things slow down with the kids and school and so forth, I'll figure something out. But I just like to have fun. My main thing is on my channel I like to kind of highlight different community members more so than I do new books or things like that. Just because that's always been a big thing with me, is just the people that kind of get to connect with through this hobby. So, and yeah, I have a sister who is an angel and a brother who is not my sister and not an
Well,
angel.
you need one on each shoulder, right? You need the
Yeah,
Right.
devil and you need the angel.
pretty much. Yeah.
And also joining us this evening, Rob. How you doing tonight, sir?
I'm exhausted.
I was gonna say, man, I appreciate you even being here with everything you got going on.
Oh,
You,
yeah, no. C3 is it's gonna be good. I'll be glad when it's done.
Yeah, I gotta shoot a promo after this, and I'm getting tired. Especially this is our peak season at work, and work is kicking my butt like
Yeah.
majorly. And plus, I'm moving. I'll be shutting down the channel for 2 weeks and moving, so everything is happening all at once. And
oh, wow.
the world's best circus clown couldn't juggle this stuff and keep it together. So
Ugh.
we're doing what we can. All right, let's say hi to the audience real quick. The first one in the door, Ruben. How you doing tonight, sir? Nice to have you. Nicholas, how are you? Never enough Nicks. Jerry the Jitterbug, always great to see you in there, buddy. Chop and Drop, community angel right there. How you doing, Chop? Joe, Anachronic Comics, the community's grandfather. How are you, sir? Don't hate me for saying that, Joe. It was said with love. Chris, the comic vet, not that kind of vet. Let's see. We have Trev, the shipping guru. Good evening, sir. And son of Bruce, Chris from Retro Rocket Comics. Good evening. Nice to see you. All right, Seth 11. Good evening, sir. Nice to see you, bud. All right, some new faces.
Oh,
Oh, he's been hijacked. Ignacio, good evening, sir. And let's see. Oh, Namin's in the chat. Good evening, Namin. All right, we are full up this evening, guys. And please check out the link that Rob put in the chat for all things C3. All right, a lot of good stuff going on. Tons of giveaways. Tons, literally tons of giveaways. All right, so without further ado, John, let's get back to you, sir, and start delving into those books, buddy.
Sure. I'm going to start at the beginning, and I mentioned this one when I was in the hot seat, but it's Superboy and the Legion of Superheroes. I'm trying to work this glare. 212. This is
Look at
Jim
that.
Shooter and Mike Grell from 1975.
Yes, it is. Look at them bell bottoms.
yeah.
And so 1975, that tells you there, I was 5 years old. So I didn't go to the spinner rack and pick this up or anything like that, obviously. This is a copy that my wonderful brother gave me because we have another copy of this where if I take it out of the bag, it just falls apart. That's how
Oh,
much
man.
I've read it.
We read the crap out of that, didn't we?
Yep. We had some neighbors next door that had three boys that were older than us, and they collected a few comic books. And this was one that they gave us. And I was hooked from the very beginning. I mean, it aged. You know, as I got older, it stayed with me. I would reread it, and got older, and I was able to appreciate those Mike Grell cutouts on all the uniforms or the costumes in a way I never did before.
And I just learned that you and I are the same age because I was also 5 in 1975.
There you go. So yeah, and I think this book really kind of set me up in terms of what I like, which is I'm very big on team books, where groups of characters interacting, and this in particular, Legion of Superheroes, whether it was Shooter or Levitz later or whoever, always seems to be one of those books that pulls in writers that can handle that kind of large dynamic. And then we kind of hit the, late 90s, 2000s, and people have not been able to figure out what to do with Legion of Superheroes. So,
Right.
Well, you got a few Legion fans in the chat with Joe and Naman, who are both big Legion fans.
Yeah, so I'm still working on trying to pick up as many of these as I can, wherever I can. I have a huge box here that Jim just gave me recently of pickups that he had pulled for me and found for me. Couple that in the run that we were able to get Mike Grell to sign and things like that. So that book in particular kind of kicked things off for me, and it's made the Legion kind of very special.
Now, was Superboy and the Legion of Superheroes before the regular Superboy title, or did the just Superboy title come first?
The Superboy title came first.
And then that turned into Superboy and the Legion, or?
Yeah, they started, I believe they started with like on a couple of occasions they would have like an 80-page giant for Superboy, and that was
Adventure
where
Comics was.
Yeah, they would kind of phase in the Legion with that. So
the one has those four. It was like Lightning Lad, Saturn Girl,
Cosmic Boy.
Yeah, Cosmic Boy, and God, I can't remember the fourth one.
That was it. It was the three that
I thought it was
started.
Yeah, it was three. I know there was three that started it, but maybe it was. I was thinking there was somebody else in there, but I can't remember who. But yeah, those were the big three all the time in there at the beginning.
Yeah.
Nice. All right, number 2, John. Good starter.
Number 2. Now, this goes back to my devil of a brother. This is this is the new Teen Titans number 1. I would show you the new Teen Titans number 1 original, but it's up in Maryland in Jim's house because he doesn't trust me with all the good books yet.
Got to earn it.
Yeah, I got to show take care of things. So this is a reprint that was done with a beautiful Phil Jimenez cover there. But this kind of I wanted to go ahead and show this because that new Teen Titans kind of continued from the Legion of Superheroes. This young characters interacting, large group. And then this had the benefit of just fantastic writing and gorgeous art. Perez we lost recently, and his work on that title probably influenced me more than any other artist. I'm very much into the writers and storytellers. That's what draws me to books and takes me in different directions. There's very few artists that lock me in, and of course Perez, though I've followed him anywhere. But the work he did on this title in particular, we can talk about his detail and all the beautiful layouts and stuff that he did, but he also took these characters that were supposed to be young people, teens or in their 20s and so forth, and he made them, without coming off cartoonish, seem like they were. You could definitely see in how he depicted them that they were, they were the sidekicks, so to speak, or they were younger than their counterparts.
Right, and he
and
fell in love with those characters, right?
What's that?
I said in that was like a consolation prize until he could do the big book he wanted to do, but then he ended up falling in love with those characters and staying on, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and the relationship that he had with Marv Wolfman really kind of solidified that they were really collaborators. I thought in that series in particular, Wolfman did some great stuff because he was able to kind of tap into that age range and be, realistic with adult situations, for lack of a better term, being handled by these younger people. And he's said repeatedly that George was a collaborator on all of that. Even bringing ideas to the table, not just drawing pictures.
Nice.
Now, who's your favorite Titan?
It's probably my favorite just character overall. It's Wally West. So I absolutely love that old school Kid Flash outfit, costume.
Right.
I think it's absolutely just simplistic and gorgeous. I love the color scheme. And then I could always kind of relate to Wally because he had a lot of self-doubt early on, a lot of struggle with, being in Barry's shadow and where he fit. And then that whole storyline in Titans where, he had feelings for Raven, but he wasn't sure whether he was being manipulated or not. And just all of those things kind of pieced together just to make him a character for me that was just fascinating and who I wanted to follow. And then, I have later when he took over as the Flash and that, especially that Mark Waid run, I have a ton of those books and absolutely love the character of Wally.
It's funny because as a non-DC guy with no DC hate, I just don't connect with the characters as much. But when you're on the outside of DC, it seems like the only Flash you hear about is Barry Allen. But every time I talk to a Flash fan, it seems like 90% of them are Wally West fans.
Yeah.
Which makes me wonder why they don't do more with him in media.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think when they brought Barry back, we had a big long period there where Barry was gone, and it was like, okay, Wally is the Flash now. And then they brought Barry back, and it just kind of made it seem like they were like, okay, now we got to go all in and invest in Barry as the Flash in every property that we have, or whether it's a comic or a cartoon or wherever. That kind of thing. So
the Silver Age pantheon garners all the attention. Well, a lot of people just grew up with Wally, although Jake Eric is the best. Sorry, guys.
What was Wally's profession compared to Barry's? We all know what Barry is because it's plastered in all media. But what did Wally do? Was his profession an important part of his book or no?
No, he was a Flash.
Yeah. He was a college student and Flash.
Yeah,
he was a pure Flash.
yeah, he embraced it pretty much full on, and
yeah.
did that. So sorry, there's a train coming through. You're probably going to hear in a minute.
That's okay.
And how do you make money then? Damn it! He just stole from everybody.
Yeah.
Well, he lived off other women, didn't he?
Yeah,
I mean,
he had ladies.
He was a chick.
He was a kept man in many different ways, I guess.
Well, the train doesn't want him to talk about Flash at all.
no, not at all.
But yeah, so that whole Titans run though was I can remember walking to the drugstore up the street and checking repeatedly just to see if a new one had come out, you know, and then make sure we didn't miss any. So.
As far as I go, John, collector's reprint is a way to read something that's become a little bit too pricey to get your hands on.
Yeah.
Or if you have it, you can read the reprint and not damage the floppy of the nice one you have.
And it can still be a consolation prize if that's what's available to you. I mean, I have some various collector reprints of Spider-Man 1. That's my consolation prize because I don't have $25,000 laying around.
But why?
I have two kids that go to college and a wife.
And it might be an opportunity to, you know, to pick up a new audience, somebody that, you know, might not even be aware of it. They see a reprint instead of that, you know, they might say, well, let me just check this out. And then they're having to invest more money to go back through those back issues, but at least maybe get some hooked in.
And I'm a big fan, I don't know if you are, John, of the facsimile editions that they put out now. I think those are wonderful books, especially that you get everything that was in the original book with the original ads. Everything's just the same. I love that.
Yeah, I love them, and I love that they're doing them. I'd be fine with them doing more. I'm not a big investment kind of collector, and I'm not a big, you know, like we'll get to the spec later. I have no idea on spec. I don't follow the market or anything like that. It's all
Sounds
story.
like me.
Yeah, it's all story. So if I can get a cheap copy of the story, great. I'm in. Let's do it.
Yeah, they're not taking away from and nobody's mistaking them as more valuable than the original. And they're not taking away from that. And collectors reprints are the same way. It's the my soapbox that Gene was referencing refers to when people take second or third prints and somehow make them more valuable than the original first print,
which is ludicrous.
Yeah, I don't get that either. Oh, I got a second print of Strange Academy 2, but
it's rare.
How can that be more valuable?
It's rarer. There's less copies of it.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, they can make more of another print with less copies. It's just ridiculous.
Yep.
All right, John, number 3, sir.
I mean, it could have a different cover, different artist, you know, on the cover or so forth that adds value to it when you have those second or third prints. So I can kind of see it if you're from a collecting standpoint or a, you know, buyer seller standpoint, but you know,
look, I buy some for the cover. Like I bought a second print Predator because I love the cover. Right. I didn't buy it because I thought it was going to be worth anything. Right. I bought it as a cover buy, and it went into plastic, and it looks pretty, and that's it.
Yeah. There you go. That's all you need.
Right?
Gary sat there and said, "Your pages look pretty."
Yeah.
That's right.
We'll come back to that, I'm sure.
All right, number 3, John.
Number 3 is Kingdom Come.
Oh.
And this is issue 2. And the reason I picked this was a couple different reasons. I picked issue 2 because it has Norman McKay on the cover. And he is kind of the everyman character that kind of fills in for us during the story as the reader, or, you know, as part of the experience. But this book was huge for me, not in that it's gorgeous to look at, and it's an incredible story that Wade wrote and the Elseworld kind of whole thing. But I'd been in one of those deals where, you know, this was like 96, this came out. And I had been on like kind of a little break. We had just had first kid, you know, and was kind of on a comic book break and was deciding to kind of get back into it. And lo and behold, along the same lines, the internet came along, and I was able to. I had access at my job to the internet right there at my desk. So I wanted to be work safe, but I wanted to look up cool stuff that I was interested in. So I looked up comic books, and before Kingdom Come came out, I found this message board, which was just called the Kingdom Come message board.
Wow.
And people would just share and post, speculating. We'd have these promotional images of the covers and stuff, and we would speculate on who all the different characters were, and try to guess different things of what was going to happen, and just talking about excitement about this particular book, any piece of art that Ross released that we could see as a promotional. Um, we would talk about that, and it's kind of like this is now. I actually kind of made a lot of friendships, and we had a community that kind of developed around this book, and on this olden days message board. It wasn't face to face like this or anything like that. It was all text based, but we all got to know each other and kind of develop this little community.
Or I was just going to say, comics creating community even then.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Yeah.
I say, just shut it down now, Gary. That book, don't need to see anything else now. That book is just.
Oh, I don't know. There's some other stuff here. But
that book is was amazing.
It's fantastic. And it was, like I said, it was a big one for me because I was kind of coming back in after a little break.
How many issues did it run? That's one I've never read.
It's just a 4-parter.
Oh, Gary.
Oh, you really
that was the first time I ever saw, because I hadn't been into comics until much later. That was the first time I saw Alex Ross's work, and I was
same here.
Just dumbfounded. Such a good book.
Yeah, and he's another one of those kind of artists that he's hit or miss for me with some things, but
same here.
More often than not, it's hit. He's on the plus side, but and this, it was my first exposure to him, and he's just absolutely, it's absolutely gorgeous. And just like I said, I imagine getting to play around and make alternate versions of all these different characters, or create next generation characters, like he, had the freedom to do with some of this is really cool. And
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, and it's a great story. It really is. And I tend to like the Elseworld stories a lot. I like when they get to go in different directions. I'm not like, super precious with any of the characters. I'm like, yeah, do weird stuff. I'm okay. It's all going to be changed in a year anyway, so that's why I don't. Yeah, it doesn't.
I've been eyeballing my LCS has the collector's hardbound edition, still sealed, of Kingdom Come that's been sitting there for a bit, and I've been eyeballing that and thinking that may have to come home pretty soon.
Yeah, but you can't leave that sealed.
No.
And see, and that's the problem. Like, there's going to be stories you miss, and I've missed quite a few big ones, especially when you collect one company more than the other, because you only got so much money, and
Yeah,
exactly. And like when something like that's coming out at the time, you don't know like that it's the next.
Oh, there's trades and everything else on that. So
right.
Yeah.
And that's kind of, speaking of that, when you said earlier, you're not much of a DC guy type of thing.
Yeah, but don't hate.
No, exactly. It's the same, and it's the opposite here. This is going to be the 10 DC books, 1 Marvel.
Well, that's okay. I mean, your brother was the opposite.
And
that's
then
why
another.
He's even wearing Batman just to support you tonight. Look at him. What a good brother.
Right on.
Yeah.
He might be on the angel side of your shoulder tonight.
What? No dynamite.
He's trying.
Dynamite.
Number 4.
Number 4. Let's see. It's kind of in the same vein. It's DC. It's an Elseworlds, and it's the Golden Age. And this is issue 1. It's actually a 4-issue series that they did, and this is where kind of again, I love Elseworlds and those kind of alternate realities, but this really kind of dragged me into the JSA and those kind of Earth 2 characters and those kinds of things into that rabbit hole. And this is a fascinating series. It's James Robinson, it's the writer, and Paul Smith does the art, and it's painted as well. It's beautiful. This was in 1993 that this came
Oh.
out. So this was before the Golden Age. I mean, before Kingdom Come. Uh, and it's kind of this thing where the U.S. signed a pact that the superheroes would not get involved in World War II, but there were some that kind of snuck in behind the lines. And spoilers, if you haven't read this, too bad. I'm going to spoil it for you. Um, uh, one of the ones that sneaks in, Tex Thompson, Mr. American, kind of gets brainwashed and falls onto the wrong side, and then they create kind of their own super soldier, this Dynaman character, uh, and what they take this kid. It's actually, I don't know if you know anything about the Young All Stars or those old uh, characters, but it's Dan the Dynamite Kid, who was sidekick. They were like TNT. They had the rings they'd hit together and there'd be an explosion. Um, they were part of the Young All Stars later and so forth. Um, Dan the Dynamite Kid becomes the super soldier, but then they take his brain out and they replace it with Hitler's brain. So you've got a super powered Hitler that comes back to
Oh,
America
that's
after
wild.
the war is over, and yeah, and wants to take over. And he's got his brainwashed pal, Mr. Americas, that's now running for president. And so the JSA come back together to try to take him down and face him off. And it gets really kind of gruesome, and uh, but it's incredibly detailed in some of the history of that time, of weaving in real life history during the late 40s into the plot.
Yeah,
And
that's a
it's
crazy plot to begin with. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's really well done, and it basically kicked off my love of James Robinson as a writer. I followed him to the Starman series that he did, and have collected all of those. That was actually one of my frustrations with this. There's a one particular episode issue of that Starman series that is my absolute favorite, and I pulled it out at some point uh, to go to take to Charlotte when we went to the convention down there to get Tony Harris to sign it, and now I can't find what I did with it. And
No.
I would have shown that, but I can't find it. So
Oh, now when the show's done, it'll turn up because you're not looking for it.
Right.
yeah, exactly.
It'll be a
That's how that
file
stuff
within a
goes.
file.
James Robinson, he did that Starman series for a long time, and it's the same type of thing. It's just very detailed and it's very history heavy, and pop culture heavy, and throughout time. And he went on to work on the JSA book with Justice Society book with Jeff Johns. And he's an executive producer on the Stargirl series. It's on TV now because he's had such a hand with all of those characters, and such an understanding with all those characters. And I'm just a big fan of his work, his writing. I think he's fantastic.
Nice.
He has a
it's
real
good when someone that you're
love.
a fan of has a long career, right?
Right.
Yeah, and he just has a real love and affection for those characters and making sure that they're treated right, which
And
I
Jim,
like.
Trev says, and that's why Jim doesn't let you have the big books because you
Yeah,
can't find the one you want on the show.
that's probably it.
Great book.
Man, you
That's one I never heard of either, though.
Yeah, dude, I've never seen that one.
Oh yeah, it's fantastic. It's one of those ones I read over and over again just because it's got so much detail.
Right.
And you've got these kind of, like I said, older. You've got the original Paul Kirk Manhunter
Oh yeah.
on there, and just all of these. Um, Alan Scott and
Alan Scott, Green Lantern.
the
Right.
original Adam, who was just a little tiny strong guy, not really he didn't shrink or anything like that, and Sandman, and just all these great kind of what people would say was second tier. They're not. They're the JSA, so they're badass.
Nice.
Yeah,
I always
all
felt
these
like the JSA was they did things that the Justice League wouldn't. You know, it was
well, that's like
I don't
very
know.
yeah, very similar to the issue I was looking for from Starman is issue 11, and it's a times past story is where he's just talking to his dad Star, the original Starman, about different things that have happened, and he tells the story of the original Ragdoll is going on this killing spree throughout I don't know which city they'd said, but and they couldn't stop him. The JSA was trying to stop him, and it wound up being Starman and Alan Scott and um, Our Man, and they were trying to stop his minions, and he had brainwashed or kind of cult like figure, become this cult
Right.
like figure, and was doing all these things and so forth, and they basically came to the point where they had a discussion. Sorry, train. They had a discussion about like the only way to end this is if he dies,
Right.
and
Wow.
uh, and that's what Starman's suggestion was, and they were like, no, we can't do that. That's not who we are. Blah blah, and that whole storyline is being mimicked kind of in Stargirl,
Right.
where Starman talks about he was the one that told them that the only way to stop Eclipso was to kill his host,
Right.
and so they kind of paralleled that story in there.
Hmm.
Uh, so they get on board in that issue. They all get on board and say, "Okay, you're right. He's done so much." Once he started killing children, they were like, "Yeah, we got to do something."
He's got to go.
But they leave it ambiguous. At the end of the story, there's this giant battle, and Ragdoll winds up dead, but nobody says they did it. None of the three of them three
Well,
of them
me.
said they did it. They're like, oh, it was a big
Keep it
battle.
mum.
Things happen.
Yeah.
People get hurt. And they kind of leave it ambiguous, which is kind of interesting.
Nice. Number 5, John.
Number 5. Let's see. Number 5 is Green Lantern 54, which is Ron Mars and Daryl Banks from 1994. And I was able to get Mr. Banks to sign that in
Ooh,
Charlotte.
nice.
He was super cool. Um, and this is in particular, and it goes with, this is the 51, which was the first Kyle Rayner, when Kyle Rayner took over as Green Lantern, took over the book. And I added this one because it's significant to me, because going back to what I was talking about before with Kingdom Come, that message board, the Kingdom Come message board, the guy who created that and owned that eventually turned it into comicbookresources.com.
Oh, wow.
And comicbookresources.com, he later sold it and it's been bought out. It's not the same as it used to be, unfortunately. Sound like an old kids today have ruined it. But
Back in my day, it was just a text message board. Now they got
well,
graphics and stuff all over it.
he built it into comicbookresources.com, and it had message boards and news feeds, and he would interview people and do different things. It had a lot of different stuff. But all of those people from that Kingdom Come message board moved over there, and there was probably about 10 or 12 of us that were kind of the first people to show up at the Kingdom Come message board and kind of came together. And so he asked each of us to be moderators of different boards. So you would just basically keep an eye on things and make sure things don't, get out of hand, and kind of facilitate discussion and so forth. So the Flash and the Green Lantern boards were the boards that I was the moderator of.
Right.
This was years later from when, because like this was 1994. And this was years later, probably, I don't know, 97, 98. And people were still fussing about how Jordan being, made to go crazy and destroy Coast City, and this new kid needed to get out of here. I mean, it was crazy. Like, people get mad about stuff happening now to characters, but like Ron Mars got death threats and and stuff because he dared to, bring this new character in and make Hal the Spectre and all the different things they did to him. And he was like, dude, editorial put me in that direction. I'm just doing a job,
Right.
people are falling for his head on a stick. Um, but this particular issue is the one where so Kyle Rayner in the series had a girlfriend, and later Major Force, this bad guy here, who was kind of a Captain Atom knockoff, winds up killing his girlfriend, and he stuffs her body in in Kyle's refrigerator, and he comes home and finds his uh, girlfriend's dead body, and that's where the term "women in refrigerators" came from. The trope that they talk about with women,
Oh.
female characters, kind of being getting the short end of the stick or being used solely as motivation for male characters to move forward and so forth.
Right.
Um, which during this time was a big thing.
Right.
Uh, there was quite a few instances of that happening, um, of female
Thank God that
characters.
never happened in a Conan book.
No. Yeah, never.
No, no damsels in distress there. And so, but one of those people in that original community that I got to know and got to be friends with was Gail Simone, the writer, and she was kind of the one who originally brought up the whole women in refrigerators things, or this question of, are women being, and it really was, she wasn't making a statement, she was asking a question, and she was like, is this just me, or does it feel like it's kind of uneven in how female characters are treated uh, versus male characters? So we kind of rolled with it and decided to get in touch and start asking comic book creators their thoughts on this kind of theory. Um, and back then, AOL was the big thing, and both Marvel and DC were a part of, or on AOL as their platform. So once you could figure out somebody's name, what their screen name was on AOL, you could instant message them or email them right through AOL.
Right.
And DC and Marvel both had message boards, and the creators would get on there and talk about their work. So you could see their screen name. So you could just send them an email. So we just started emailing different comic creators with this question and this list of all these characters, these female characters that had kind of been maligned over time and over the years and so forth. And just kind of like, what's your thoughts on this? Is this kind of a thing? Or is it just, reading too much into it and so forth? And we just started getting all these different responses, and creators were, some of them were defensive, some of them were like, oh yeah, it's pretty clear, and some of them were like, oh yeah, I did that on purpose,
Right.
and so forth. And so
Well, I'm sure some of the direction was that way because it probably sold some books.
yeah, 100%.
Right.
Yeah, a lot of them were like, it's that's what the audience is. The audience is mostly male,
Right.
so it's skewing that way.
It's the way we like our Power Girl.
Yeah.
We
So
are.
there was we created a website where we kind of posted all the responses and let people kind of come and look through it and see what
What a-
creators had to say and give responses and so forth. So it was fun. It was like kind of really digging in and getting to kind of interact with some of the creators and writers and artists and different things in a way that we hadn't been able to do before. So that was cool.
It makes me wonder, like, I'd like to ask Gail Simone now what she thought of all the bondage covers of the eras too.
Yeah. There was
I mean,
a lot of them.
Yeah, I don't want to speak for her, but I bet she'd be fine. I mean, you'd be like, yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
She would love it. She wouldn't have a problem with it. She was like, but because she would be like, because like if you look at it, I can look at Conan or Tarzan, and I'm getting I'm getting the beefcake too. As long as it's even handed, I don't care.
Right?
Yeah.
Didn't Banks
So-
say something about they had to turn in, like when they were drawing for that one book? What was it he said? Something about how they drew it the first time. They were like, yeah, that's not going to work. We don't
Yeah,
like it. It's too graphic or something.
He originally drew it in the script. He's like, it just said that Major Force kills her and puts her body in the refrigerator, and so he drew it where the door comes open and you see her whole body there, and in the refrigerator, and they were like, no, can't do that. That's too much. Um, he said. So they made him redo it, and so now you see it, and he opens the door, and then the next panel you just see like her leg hanging out of the refrigerator. And so he said from there, everybody ran with it to say that he killed her and then chopped her up and put her in the
Right.
refrigerator.
So it made it worse.
It made it
Like he
worse.
made it 10 times worse by people. People then speculate, or they're like, "Well, you can't fit a whole body in a fridge like that." I mean, did he take out all the racks and
Right.
how did the drawers and so forth? And that takes just cut her up. He just cut
What
her
a
up.
weird rabbit hole, huh?
It's a lot
Yeah.
easier to take the shelves out than it is to
Right.
cut up the body.
I would think so
Yeah.
too, right? So, but people ran with it and were like, "Yeah, he cut her up."
If you get DNA all over the place, then you're in
And
trouble.
fridges of varying sizes.
Yeah,
Maybe it was a 2-door one with an ice
The
maker.
whole thing was kind of weird because Major Force was, like you said, a knockoff of the Atom of not the Atom of
Captain Adam.
Captain Atom. You'd have thought he'd have just like fried her and been
Right.
done with it. What's this cut her up and put in the refrigerator? That's not it.
Sadistic.
Yeah, and Mars has said he didn't cut her up. I never said anything. There's nothing in the
Right.
script that insinuates cutting her up.
Yeah.
So,
So
Wow. All right,
That's
number
awesome.
6. Is it
Number
cheerier? No, just
right.
is it cheerier? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
No,
just picking
No.
on you, John. No,
it's not.
All right. Let's keep going down the dark path.
Jim
John's
knows this
controversy.
story. It's not cheery at all.
Oh,
This is
no.
the Ray annual number 1.
Yeah. No.
Christopher Priest and Oscar Jimenez on the art on this.
I love the art on it.
It's absolutely, yeah. I love this cover. It's gorgeous. I'm a big Christopher Priest fan. He's another one of those writers that I follow around. And The Ray was a book that Jack C. Harris did a 4-issue miniseries of The Ray. That is the Ray from the Freedom Fighters back in the day. This is his son
Right.
taking over the mantle. Jack C. Harris did a 4-issue miniseries, and he had a story that started and ended. And he wanted to tell it, and then he was done. He didn't want any more. But they wanted the character to continue on, and nobody really wanted it. So Christopher Priest was like, "I'll do it. If you give me somebody, good art that can, do some fun, kind of wild stuff." So on the regular series, it's Joe Quesada was the artist on the regular series, but Oscar Jimenez does a gorgeous job on this book. This is the annual number 1. It fills in, and it's not cheerier because in the story, the young Ray idolizes Superman, and he wants to be like a hero like Superman. And at some point, there's a airplane that's going down, and he's the only one around, so he's going to save this airplane full of passengers that are crashing to the ground. And he fails, and the plane crashes, and everybody dies.
Oh.
And that's at the beginning of the issue. It's very quick, but the whole issue is him trying to deal with that failure, and he goes to each funeral of each of the different people that died in the plane crash, trying to, I don't know, find some kind of solace or something. But all it does is it makes him feel like he's failed more and more, and things that he's lost or taken from the world. He sees it as his fault. This person is now gone from the world, and they did all these wonderful things, and that's now gone because I failed, and so forth. And he meets Superman at the end, and Superman looks and lets him know, is like, you can't save everybody. Sometimes you can only do, what you can do,
Right.
and do
And
your
if
best.
you let it eat you up, you won't save anybody.
Exactly.
Right.
You can't just let it, tear you up, or you'll never try.
Now, did you read Christopher Priest when he was going by Jim Owsley, or did you only discover
Sure.
him after he changed his name?
I have some stuff, some of his stuff back when he was Jim Owsley. He was doing, I can't remember exactly which one, but I know I have some with that. And I remember when the whole name change thing happened and went through.
He's been a great industry writer ever since
Oh, yeah.
he's been in. He's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I met him at Baltimore, and had him sign my first issue of the Ray. But he brought up this particular issue and was telling me because he had just notebooks and notebooks and notebooks of notes from books he's worked on, and he literally reached into a bag and picked out a giant notebook that said the Ray on the cover and started
Wow.
flipping through pages. And he was like, "This story here is the story of my divorce." And I was like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, that plane was my marriage, and all of those people were pieces of my marriage that were dying, and that I lost." And went through it. So I mean, and he just went into so much, and he was showing me things in the notebook where this particular character that died was this, and how it compared to this thing he and his wife used to share, and so forth. It got really heavy. I was like, man, I can't believe there's nobody over here at your table getting to hear all this cool stuff.
Man, especially I know when I hear Jim Owsley or Christopher Priest, that's a man of stature in the industry to me.
Right.
100%.
His body
Yeah.
of work is huge.
I mean, his
Yeah.
Black Panther run is amazing. He did a book for Valiant back in the day called Quantum and Woody. That was kind
Yep.
of the, what was that? The kind of the Mel Gibson, Danny Glover,
Right.
Lethal Weapon types.
lethal weapon
Yeah.
kind of trope, but with superheroes, and it was hilarious,
Dude,
yet
he did a
really
great run
wonderful.
on Conan the Barbarian. He was on for like 34, 40 issues, and it was fantastic.
His recent Deathstroke stuff has been really great. He's just a solid, kind of that does a yeoman's job on writing. He can pick up anything and make it functional and make it relatable.
Right.
I'm a
I hear
big
everyone that
fan of
read
it.
his Vampirella run loved it. That he did a great job with that because he wrote that last Vampirella run, the 25 issues,
Yeah,
and now
right
he's
on.
writing Unholy.
Right
Well,
on.
nice to see a great creator. All right, number 7, and that's
Number
cool. But that's cool that he shared that personal information with you too. Like, how nice is that? Like, that's very open.
Yeah, yeah, he was very like I said, there was nobody at his table. I like walked up and there was a guy standing there. I had like 5 books and got him to sign them, and he's like, "You having a good time at the con or anything?" Trying to get the guy to talk, and the guys just like, just wanted him to sign and move on to the next thing. I walked up and there was nobody there. I stood there with him like 15, 20 minutes, just chit chatting. I was like, "Guys, this is Christopher Priest." And nobody,
Yeah.
nobody
And I
That's
came
what
think
we
over.
do, though.
It was
because
weird.
right, but meantime, and no shade on Dottie Cates, but his table was probably full, and you have this guy who's contributed probably 10 times,
Right.
100
Decades
times
worth
the
of work.
amount to comics
Right.
than one of these new guys has,
Right, right.
and not getting any love or respect at his table for it.
Yeah, and
And
he
just
was,
think of the great stories he's got from the industry.
yeah, he was
Yeah.
talking and signing and for the Heroes Initiative. So he wasn't making any money. You could, you didn't have to give any money, but you make a little donation. It went to Heroes Initiative. It's not like he was there, you know,
See,
getting a
now I
bunch of
like him
money.
even more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah. So that was a real cool interaction. So next up is Our Man #1.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
and this is from 1999. It's Tom Pyre, and Rags Morales was on art. And this was a spinoff out of DC 1 Million, the crossover they did. This Tyler Android Hour Man character. Um, they kind of at the end of the crossover didn't know what they wanted to do with them. And Tom Pyre, who is another writer that I really enjoy because I think he just does a lot of weird, goofy stuff. And he's not afraid to kind of just get silly with stuff at sometimes. So he took the book, and it's just, I don't know. I really love this book. I think I might have been the only one buying it because it only lasted like 10 issues or 11 issues.
Probably.
No, I'm just kidding. I think it went 20. I think it did go 25 issues or so. But I have all of them. But a big thing about this was like this book, especially on the interiors and on these covers, really made me kind of look harder at colorists and what they do. Because John Caleese, I think is how you pronounce it, is the colorist on this book. And it's absolutely gorgeous through the whole 25 issue run. He just does some things kind of with shadows and I don't know, just how he lights things or perspective that just makes it really kind of pop off the page. And then story wise, Pyre does this really just kind of great run with this character. He's kind of got the freedom to do what he wants because it's a complete blank slate. It's a complete unknown.
Right.
And it's basically that kind of story or trope of, an android wanting, kind of like Pinocchio, an android wanting to become human. I want to be a real boy,
Right.
and have real emotions and so forth. And then kind of finding his way there and kind of developing that humanity, and then kind of being like, oh, wait, feelings and these things kind of suck. How do I go back?
Yeah, how do we go back?
So it kind of jumps back and forth through time a lot. His this hour man is not the 1 hour of power kind of hour man. He's a time traveler. He can move back and forth through space and time.
So he's a different
and
character from the Golden Age one.
yes,
Oh yeah.
yes, yeah,
Yeah.
And like he needs somebody for guidance on his kind of journey to becoming more human. And I mean, who's better for that than Snapper Carr, right? So that's, like I said, that's the kind of thing Tom Pyre does. He takes a character like Snapper Carr from, and brings him in as kind of the second, second character, the side man in this book. And it's just like I said, there's a lot of really funny moments, and some really kind of deep moments too, though, as he kind of finds his way.
Right.
So I like to highlight that one just because I think the team that put it together did a great job, and you can find probably all 25 issues in a back issue bin for like $1, $2.
Right.
So
Dude, there's so many good things in the back issue bin.
Oh man, that's
like Night Force. If you're a DC lover, you can get all 14 issues of Night Force in the dollar bin.
Right.
You just got to get their first appearance in Teen Titans, which will cost you $10 to $25 depending on condition.
Yeah, I had a hard time picking between that one and this Kronos book that DC did.
Oh, nice.
Back in the day, and it was the same kind of thing. They were really doing a lot to kind of build some new characters and see what responsibility. And unfortunately, at that time, people just were not jumping on. You had Chase, Cameron Chase, and the DEO. Had a book out at the same time, and that one only lasted 9 issues, I think. And I thought it was fantastic, but people were like, "No, we just want our Batman and Superman."
Right.
Well, that's the thing, right? People always say they want something different, but do they?
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you bring something out, and they critique the hell out of it, and they're like, "Oh no, we don't want that."
Yeah.
That's all right.
Anytime something changes with an established character, they're like, oh, you shouldn't do that. You should just make new characters. Why? No, we've done that repeatedly. You don't support them.
Right.
So,
well, no, why? Because they end up in the long boxes of like guys like you, me, and Jim.
Right.
Yeah.
Who read them and love them and wish that they had kept going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right, number 8, John.
Number 8. I'm kind of cheating a little bit with some of these. This is All-Star Squadron.
Oh, nice.
Number 25. Roy Thomas and Jerry Ordway from 1983. And this is the first appearance of Infinity Incorporated, which kind of continued my love of those Earth 2 characters and those JSA legacy characters, and kind of built that, it's kind of like Teen Titans. It's the second generation. It's those generational characters and their relationship. So I was able to get this signed by Roy Thomas at Charlotte, which was really cool. And like I said, it made me fall in love with Infinity Incorporated, and then that Young All Stars book he did as well. And these are both of them. He signed both of these, and when I brought them to him, everybody was bringing him stuff in Charlotte that was like stuff he edited of X-Men and all of these different Marvel books and these other books. And I brought these up there and I set those down, and he literally picked up this Young All Stars book and went, whoa. And then he took it out of the bag for me. and flipped through some pages. He said, nobody has brought me one of these in ages
Right.
to sign. And he just sat there and flipped through it and looked at it, He's like, wow. I said, well, I have the whole run, and I absolutely love it. And he was like, oh, well, you should have brought them all with you.
I just signed them all.
People don't realize how much work Roy Thomas did over at DC.
Oh
Yeah.
a ton. So this. I mean, like I said, this one here especially is incredibly pertinent and special to me, and has been, like I said, it's full of characters that I've loved over the years, and I just love, like in the Stargirl series now, you're seeing a lot of these characters pop up, and I'm just over the moon about that.
Who's that wing character on there? I didn't recognize. Yeah,
that
the
one
wing.
there.
Yeah,
Northwind. He is the son of Hawkman and from the planet of Feather Area. Feather Area.
I didn't know that one. I know right. I recognize like Obsidian and Jade and what is that, Nucleon or something like that? Or
before he becomes Atom Smasher, he was Nucleon.
Yeah, so that's Atom Smasher before he's Atom Smasher.
Brainwave Jr. And then Lita Trevor, who's the son of Wonder Woman and Steve Trevor. Or daughter, excuse me. Right. Yeah. So, yeah.
Damn.
They had a lot of cool characters in that. And then when they came out with their own book, they added Star Spangled Kid back there, and
Power Girl,
Silver Scarab, who was Hector Hall, who later became the Sandman. And Huntress and Power Girl. So they added a lot of cool characters in on that.
Right.
So yeah, just getting to meet Roy Thomas was a huge deal. And those books that I loved for all those years, getting to just put them in his hands. And I've changed the bag since then, but I didn't think about it when I presented it to him. It had a little price tag on it, and it had the name of the shop that I got it from, and it said 85 cents. And he was like, "You got this for 85 cents?" I was like, "Oh crap, yeah." Back then I did, yeah.
Right.
It's like what a deal.
Right.
I was like, yeah, I think so too.
And that I love that Sandman #1 cover too, when they came out with that series.
Yeah.
That was a great cover. Not the Neil Gaiman Sandman. We know which one we're talking about.
Right.
Just a fun costume, cool colors.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was just like a throwback. It was awesome. All right, number 9, sir.
Number 9 will be my one Marvel. Oh. And that's X Factor 71, Peter David and Larry Stroman. And I don't know, to be honest with me, I'm with you, and this might be not, I don't know, make sense to some people, but I love this book and this run so much because it feels like a DC book. That's a weird thing to say, but the X-Men were all going in these new big directions, with Jim Lee and they were Uncanny, and then they were having X-Men as well, and they were doing all these wild things, and they were bringing Generation X in, and this book was like your weird cousin that's in the corner, eating paste or something. I don't know. It's really just offbeat, and then the Stroman's art and the design he did on those costumes is just so cool to me, and I just love all of these kind of, again, considered, I guess, somewhat second tier characters. You got Havoc and Polaris and Strong Guy, great name. Multiple Man.
I like Polaris.
Yeah, Multiple Man, always one of my favorites, and Wolfsbane down there, and it was just. It's just a really fun series. It's really funny. Peter David, writes kind of some funny, goofy stuff, but also very serious. They have a arc in here where they're having a team dynamic problems. So they bring in Doc Samson, to kind of do some consulting and sessions with each of them. And it just gets
Right.
really heavy sometimes, but it's also keeps it really funny. And I just love the series. This is probably one of my most reread runs in comics while Peter
Well,
David
and
did this.
that's what was great about X Force and X Factor. Then is they weren't afraid to throw in some really strange characters like Warlock and stuff. You know,
Yeah,
just
Yeah.
some
yeah,
off the wall
absolutely.
stuff, and just be different and give you something fresh.
Yeah, yeah. So that's my one Marvel book. But like I said,
Well,
that's because it feels like a DC book to me.
back to DC with number 10.
You think we should go back to DC with number 10?
I think you're going back to DC with number 10.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. I'm not much of a slab guy. I kind of was in a break when the whole slab thing came about, and again, if I can't read it, it's not much good to me. So I've never looked into getting anything slabbed or anything like that. I wouldn't even know the process, even though I've watched all of you guys talk about it on videos. Just not my
I'm
thing.
going to say we have a master of the process of
Yeah,
Right.
editing.
I know. So I never had any slabs, but my brother took care of that for me, and he got me this Nightwing 78, and this is second print. Dun dun dun. Um,
But what a great cover that is. I like the
that's
perspective.
I raved about this cover. I just thought the perspective on this cover and the way it's done is just absolutely beautiful. And he remembered that. So he found this as a piece of art and in a slab in a 9/8 and got it for me for my birthday. And that's significant to me, not just because of the book or being my one and only slab, or it was my one and only slab. But because my whole journey, all the things we've talked about, have always been at his side, learning from him, benefiting from him, and he's always looked out for me. He's always helped me. If there's something I wanted even when we were little kids, if there was something I wanted that I couldn't afford, he would pitch his money in to make sure I had books that I wanted to read. And to this day, he's still doing that. He's looking out for me, and that's been the biggest blessing of sharing this hobby with him. Is just that it's always been kind of a touch point that we can bond together when no matter what else is going on. So that's back to DC. You're right for my number.
Right?
10.
And that Nightwing run is just fabulous. I mean,
It's one.
that is
Tom
my
Taylor.
favorite one to get every time it comes out. I'm loving it.
And Redondo's like I said, I'm not a big art guy, but he's very much a part of the storytelling.
Right.
Just really doing some cool stuff.
Yep.
Nice. I've seen Nightwing 78, of course, but I never saw that particular cover, and that was really cool.
Yeah, I liked that cover more than the first print. And maybe it's worth more. I don't know. I don't think it is. But
I don't know.
nothing wrong with a second print to me.
Right.
And it's funny because, DC's with bird and bat names like Marvel is with insect names like spiders and ants, right?
Right.
Right.
But cool stuff. All right, number 11 with a extended personal story attached, Jim.
All right. So this will be Legion of Superheroes 272.
Yeah, I love that cover of that one.
And it's got two stories in it. One by Jerry Conway and Steve Ditko, which you can't go wrong with that. And then the other by Marv Wolfman and Carmen Infantino. So
two more
you
classics.
got four
I've
heavy
never
hitters
heard of
right
any
there.
of these schmucks.
Yeah, right. And this is from
Was this a one-off?
This is from 1980. And
oh my gosh.
The reason it's significant to me is because it's the first appearance of this character Nightwind back here, and she was part of the Legion Academy where she wanted to become a Legioner, but in 1976, and probably before then, there was a magazine called The Amazing World of DC Comics. In issue 12 or around there, they had a uh, create a character contest in this magazine, and um, one of the people I talked about earlier, making friends through that message board, there was a guy named Rob Harris. Um, and Rob was a huge Legion of Superheroes fan. Um, and he was the moderator of the message board at Comic Book Resources for the Legion of Superheroes. Um, and he, in 1976, sent in a character to this create a character contest in this magazine, uh, and he created the character Nightwing, uh, and they wound up putting it in the magazine as the winner, but they changed it to Nightwind because there was already a Nightwing in when Superman and Jimmy Olsen were in the bottle city of Kandor. They went by Nightwing and Flamebird. So
Right.
DC already owned the rights to a character called Nightwing, so they changed it to Nightwind. And so he won, and they had somebody draw the character for him and put it in the magazine. And he was probably, I think, about 8 or 9 years old when that happened, and he thought that was really cool. And then they contacted him later in 1980 or so, or 79, and we're like, hey, we want to use this character in the Legion of Superheroes. And so that kind of kicked off his love of the Legion of Superheroes back then.
Nice.
So they printed, this was her introduction. They changed it, to Nightwind, or put her in as Nightwind. And he had originally given the character some other name, but they changed the character's name to Berta Harris because his name was Robert Harris. They changed her name to Berta Harris after him, which was really cool. So come to find out through all this time and knowing each other and talking on these message boards, he lived about 3 miles away from me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So we got together. We decided let's get together. We'll grab lunch or so forth. So we met at a mall that had a comic book shop and a food court and so forth. And I went and I had my then, I don't know how old he was, probably 3-year-old son with me at the time. We went and we had lunch. We went over to the comic book shop and hung out. And he was just the coolest guy and the greatest guy. Just a really, really sweet man. And then, we said, see you online, and went our separate ways. And then he came over to the car where I was getting Aaron into the car seat. And he had this bag and he goes, hey, here, take this to make sure that kid knows what good comics are. And in the bag were the first 2, those hardback DC Archive editions of the first 2 volumes of Legion of Superheroes. So you had the original adventure comic runs and on up into, so, and those were like $50 or $25 at the time, $24.99 or something at the time. And he got the first 2 and gave those to me, which I still have upstairs somewhere.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, and he was just a fantastic guy. And unfortunately, probably about 10 years ago, he passed away. Didn't get to stay in touch with him and know what was going on over the years. We kind of all went our separate ways and on to real life kind of thing. And I'm always kind of bummed about that, but I'm actually kind of more happy and joyful that I got to know him at all. He was just this really cool guy, always sweet and kind to everybody. And so that book means a lot to me just because of that connection to him. So
right, and that's like this epic memory you'll always have.
Right.
Yeah. So,
absolutely.
And he kind of lives on in a little sort of way just by being able to, read this, look at this and read this. And something he created, as a child when he was little is in print and is, it has his same name and everything. So,
That's
It's
pretty
just
cool.
it's very cool, and it means a lot to me. And I was very lucky to get to know him.
Nice, good for you. That's a great story, John.
Thank you.
Right. Just it's funny. Like you read these books, and sometimes you get to meet the creators, and it's always great when they surpass your expectations.
Sure,
Right?
sure, yeah.
All right. I guess we're to the specky non-specky pick.
I don't even know what that means. I don't know what that means. I don't follow the market or anything. So like spec would be something that it's maybe going to be worth some value.
Yeah,
that
yeah,
I
what
think
yeah.
out of all of us on the panel, the only one that might have the market idea is Rob up
It's
there.
Rob.
Yeah. Okay.
I
Well,
don't sell anything, so
I'm
practically.
You
gonna
don't, but you keep track of stuff.
Right. You're
Oh,
more
sure.
knowledgeable than we are anyway.
yeah. I don't know. I'm gonna my spec would be I'm hoping like after by this weekend I'm hoping some of these books start going.
Shazam!
That Black Adam, you know, this JSA run with the Black Rain. I think there's a lot probably in the movie that is heavily pulled from these books.
There you
So-
go. Talk it up.
So maybe these will kind of be a spec pick that people go back and be looking for. It's part of that Jeff Johns run that is just fantastic anyway. So who knows? That's my spec pick, I guess.
Get all the Black Adam books you can right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, sure. Or I mean,
That's
that's fine. I not really. I'd rather them be cheap so I can find them. But
Yeah,
you
you
and
just
I'd
had
also
that,
like maybe we'll have some spec on this stuff with
Oh,
those
that's true.
Miranda brothers kind of teasing some possibilities.
Now, John, did you pick up the facsimile edition of Marvel Family this week with the first Black Adam?
I have not because I have not been to the shop this week.
It's
Yeah.
out there.
Yeah.
I know. I saw Mark had like 70 of them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Spasm and the whole family.
Right.
Yeah.
Shazam! I know. I'm just being a jerk.
Yeah.
But,
I mean, you mean you don't have the second appearance, the more recent release? You don't have one of those laying around?
it's with that Starman issue I couldn't find. Sure, it's probably right under that, wherever that is.
Dog's chewing it right now.
Right.
Yeah.
Right now.
I thought you was gonna whip out like the first appearance of Power Girl you have and say she's
I have
coming
that
for
over-
sure. She's
I don't
coming.
think she's coming anytime soon.
They're gonna find a big busty blonde for sure and put her up
Well,
in
there's
there.
plenty of those
Unfortunately,
out
there's
there.
a shortage of those in
Yeah.
the world.
Yeah, I have that over here with I have a box that has just like some key books like that and the first Gambit and stuff like that.
Oh,
And I
I'd
have a
rather
ne-
hear about the books you love like that. That's amazing.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I have. Well, and then like right on hand here, I have a box that's just all stuff that I've gotten from this community. So I have like a separate box of just stuff that people have been
These
kind enough
bastards
to either
just sending
win
you
or just
stuff.
kind
What's
enough
up
to
with that?
send, or anything like that.
Yeah.
And then I have another that's just all signed books because I like to get autographs. I like to interact with creators and get them signed. I don't care about a COA or anything like that, but I have just a stack of signed books. That's kind
Make your own. They made just as much.
Right.
Sure, right. That's what I say. I watched him sign it at this.
Well,
Yeah, I actually do. I actually make my own. It just more so just to remind myself where I got that signature
Right.
and when,
Right.
whatever else. But it means just as much.
Yeah,
right, at the end of the day, it's just
Yeah.
a piece of paper that some company multiple printed out and doesn't really mean anything.
Right.
Right. At least
Right.
mine reference the book and the artist and the
but
date,
like
time, and the location and
Right.
my first kind of dip my toe into getting to know you guys and getting to be a part of this community was Chris the Comic Vet. I think it was like, it's hard to believe because it was like his 200 subscribers or something. He's
Yeah.
like 600 now or something. I don't know where he's.
he's
No,
850.
800. Yeah, so it's his 300 maybe or
Yeah, he's
something
right.
like that.
He's
I don't
right.
know. But I won. I just like jumped on and listened to you guys talk about comics, and I won this cool, signed J. Scott Campbell with COA.
Yeah.
That one at least is from his store, so it's
Right.
Yeah, exactly. It's directly from him. But that kind of thing. It's like that's why I keep all of those separate, because like I could go in. There's several things I could go in and say, oh, I need to put this in with my Batman stuff, or put this in with that. But it's like, nah. You know what? I just want to keep these separate. That these were things I got from cool people, so I can make a note and put it in there. Got this from so and so, just because they're awesome, and that kind of thing.
White Shadow, cutting lines and getting autographs before the regular people. I kid you, Chip. I kid you.
Oh, wow.
I think your StreamYard's going to stop working here all of a sudden.
Oh, I forgot who I was talking to. Yeah,
That's right.
Your StreamYard, Chip Getler.
Right.
Man.
Tree kissed the ring.
Edge tonight. You must not
Don't
want
worry.
it.
I'll take my lashings from Chip.
You shall bend the knee.
You shall bend the knee.
Excellent. Hopefully he'll knight me one day. Right. You're the best, Chip. We kid you, buddy. You're awesome.
We love Chip, even though he made me sick.
Right. Well, see, you didn't bend
that
the
was
knee,
just
Don.
that was just
the
nature's.
price you paid.
You're getting sick is just nature's way of telling you that you are not worthy to be around him.
Pretty much, yes. My immune system was not ready for the presence.
Yes.
Or you could just flip that around and say Chip shared something personal with you.
Ooh, that's a good point. That's a good point. And he didn't share with me and Mark. That's for sure. We were right there too, and I thought
you weren't worthy.
I was okay with it.
Right.
Their defenses were up, I guess.
Yeah.
Mine were weak. I was weak.
Oh goodness. Man. John, those were great books. I love seeing them. A couple that I haven't read that I do need to read, of course. But, there's so many classics. You can't read everything. Yeah. Over time you can read most, but that's the great thing is I get reminded of some things on this show that, I should look up and give a look to that are classics. I bought a bunch of the DC. I'm a sucker for the Bronze Age 4-issue miniseries that DC and Marvel used to put out. Sure. But one of my favorite maxi series from DC was the John Bolton one with the Camelot 3000. I love that 12-issue series. And you can read it now, and sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's a little cringy here or there. It's still great fun.
Yeah. Well, that's what like a lot of these. Some of the things, don't hold up as well as they did at the time, but they, they're still fun. They're still good stories. I like I said, I would highly recommend if you haven't read Kingdom Come, I would highly recommend you go and find that as quick as possible.
Right, and that's one of the holes. Like I've read Death in the Family. I've read a bunch of the other ones,
right.
But that's just one that whatever wasn't in comics at the time, and
yeah, or that Golden Age 4-issue series. That's a little more obscure. Fewer people pick that up or check that out, and it's great. It's absolutely great. You could probably find that cheaper than you could the Kingdom Come stuff.
See, I'm gonna have to sick Chip Getler on Flo now. I got Flo picking on me still in the comments.
It's not anything.
Yeah.
Pick away, Flo. Pick away. I can take it, man. I can
tell Mom to take away Flo's internet privileges.
That's right. Unbelievable.
Oh, goodness. All right, great show. I want to thank the audience for coming out and supporting these guys. Really awesome. We're going to start with you, Jim. And what's coming up with you, bud?
I finally got my comic skins in, and I'll be opening that up and putting them together as soon as I get with Chip. Chip's going to make me some banners for them. I just have to send the information. Sorry, Chip. I just have been behind on that. And I'll do a video on it and show you how it gets put together, and I'm going to put some up on my walls because I can't find the book right now, but I got an amazing book from Retro Rocket Comics, an Archie with metal detecting, and that's going to be on my wall now forever because that's awesome. So yeah, I got that, and I'm going to be metal detecting this weekend at a house up in Gettysburg. So
Ooh,
it's on the outskirts of Gettysburg, but Jesus, man, they were surrounding that town. I'm bound to find something there. And it goes up into the woods, and the guy's like, nobody's ever been here. I've been here forever, and so
that's
I'm
where
gonna
the
shoot.
bodies are kept. Be
I'm
careful.
gonna shoot some footage of that. Hopefully, I'm gonna find something good, and you guys, I'm gonna post that on there, either in shorts or maybe I'll make a clip it together
Well,
for a
good
video.
luck, Jim. Hopefully, you do find some cool stuff, bud.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
don't care if you wear shorts.
Or a kilt.
Yeah,
And Rob, I hear you
fit
got
in
some
short.
stuff going on this weekend. What's happening, buddy?
Well, Thursday I'll have another unboxing video, and then Saturday's only slabs, of course. We have the Man Cave Comics coming on, but don't forget to check out
Comics
all weekend
here.
long, Comics Curing Cancer going on. This link tree has the link for all the shows and the schedule for when they're starting. So go ahead and check that out. Start bookmarking stuff. Subscribe everybody up. Start saving your money. Looking through your kids' laundry. Check through the couch. Whatever you got. We're going to make sure that we do our best here. We want to try to hit our goal of $10,000. Last year they raised 8,000 in one day. We got 3 days. We could do 10 grand. Should be easy peasy, right?
Right.
So that's a big thing. Then, I mean, coming out of this, I got some different content coming up in the next month. I'll be having some reviews on a new product called Comic Shippers, which is specifically for built for shipping slabs. We're going to have one of the new EGS slabs on to take a look at to review the new EGS slab, and then we'll start talking about the new CBCS system for tracking your orders. And apparently now CGC just dumped a new thing on shipping stuff out to them. So we'll talk about that stuff like probably this Saturday during our slab discussion.
Yes, please.
And
Curious.
I happen to be doing 10-1-1 that Friday night to help C3 out. My guest is going to be Dan Can from Out of the Panel Comics and his daughter Zoe, who also do local charity here. They are part of the New York branch of Pops for Patients, which gets pops into the hands of children in hospitals and gives them a better day. That's something they do year round. Dan is super excited to help us kick cancer's ass and can't wait to be in the show. And all of you out there, we are going to have a ton of giveaways on the Friday night 10-1-1. So it's going to be a $25 donation. And Rob will be on the show. I'll probably have him keeping track of that for me since he's good with that and I am not. And we'll be doing a wheel or something at the end of the show to pick winners from our show. But that $25 donation will go twice because it also goes to the big show that
Yeah,
Rob's doing on Sunday. So if
for
you
Saturday.
donate
So
for
I didn't even
that,
talk about that. So yeah, I should have.
2
I'm sorry.
chances to win.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Gary. Good for bringing it up. So what, guys?
I
Even right
try.
now, through the link tree. They're on the link tree, which has the schedule thing. There's also a donate now button that's there if you want to get ahead of the ball. You're not going to be around this weekend or don't want to wait. Any of the donations of $25 or more that are from this point on are going on to a wheel. And on Saturday night, show at Remy's Place, the Big Prize Wheels show. We're going to be doing a bunch of thank you gifts. We've donated from various different folks, some art, some comics, some slabs, some free pressings, free grading, various different things that will be spinning a wheel for names, then spinning another wheel for thank you gifts and getting people some stuff. So don't do it for the freebies, but you
They
might get
don't
a
hurt.
chance at some freebies. Yeah, it doesn't hurt either. So yeah, so thank you.
And I got about between me and Rhinos together, we got about a $200 and something package that's going to be one of the grand prizes during the 10-1-1. And I just went and picked up a couple action figures to help with that too. I'll show you real quick.
Yeah, there's gonna be a lot of stuff going all throughout. So tune in and tune in often. I know DJ's got a big thing going on
I
Friday, and
I didn't
Factory
have
Carry
anything DC in the box. It was a Predator and an Indie. So we picked up a Huntress old school figure to put in there.
Oh,
Makes sense.
nice.
And to help kick cancer's ass, the breast cancer awareness DC bombshells Catwoman
Very
Nice.
cool.
in a hard case.
Wow.
So that's
real cool.
also
Nice.
going into the box. That box is going to be packed with goodies. Dan's bringing a lot of goodies, but we have as soon as I go to say it, I forget. We have Abby Trott, who we are going to have. She is a voice actress and a singer, and she's on a ton of cartoons, including Carmen Sandiego, and Demon Slayer, where she voices one of the major characters, and Nezuko, and she has donated a signed pop from her, which goes. If you want one of those, they're about $200 or more.
Wow.
So that's another one of the grand prizes. All for you get in on, and there's a ton that Dan's bringing with him. Some DC prizes, some indie prizes. We got the companies covered. All right,
Right.
and
Right.
so there's going to be something for everyone that's donating $25 or more, and you can win more than once. You can win a couple times on my show if you're so lucky. If you're, say, Las Cruces or Chop and Drop, who's been on fire lately,
Right.
Yeah, we
Revenue
should just
continues.
mail it all to them right now.
right? But if it's $25 or more, you're also on Rob's big show. You cannot lose,
Yeah.
and you
But-
help fight
Well,
cancer.
you could, but
The good thing is
no one go.
you can
No,
also
but you fight
donate
cancer,
again.
too.
Yeah.
Yes.
You can
And-
win more than once, but you can donate more than once as well.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we are making sure so you can you don't have to worry about missing out on anything. The shows are not overlapping. Everybody's efforts are here to be able to so you can go from one thing to the next type of thing. There are some breaks in between every once in a while, which is fine. The whole concept this year, instead of doing one channel and 24 hours, we wanted to utilize the overlapping circles in order to get a bigger footprint and cast a bigger shadow, so we can do more to help defeat this villain that is known as cancer.
Right.
So thank you, Gary, for reminding me of some of these things, and for being a part of this, and for everything that you've done for bringing in some donations from your community and circle to help us in this fight.
Yes, and the only reason I didn't send them to you or put them on the big roll, Rob, is you can't ship everything. So we're going to ship the stuff that we're doing on our show.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I could, but I prefer not to.
Right.
Cancer
So
has
is my
an
mailman.
army. We have a DJ Links. So
That's right.
There you go.
all right. And John, anything coming up for you, sir?
No,
No. Okay.
I don't want to do anything.
He's gonna
People
he's gonna have content in a couple of weeks.
He doesn't want to go
my-
off brand. Leave him alone.
Everybody's gonna flock to my channel and not watch you guys taking on cancer. I don't want to do that. I'm gonna just sit back and enjoy what you guys are doing. No,
Right.
I don't really have anything planned, but we're gonna be hitting up Baltimore Comic Con coming up here in a couple of weeks, Jim and I. So I'm gonna get some content there for sure. And we'll be doing something on that, but yeah, really just kind of hanging back. And it's a busy time of year with the band season at school where my wife works and so forth. So we're away most every weekend. But I'm going to try to tune in as much as I can to you guys this weekend.
Nice.
I'm really,
And I heard Jim's
appreciate all of you.
cosplaying as Lady Death, so we want some footage of that.
Yeah, I've seen that though.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Not really worth it.
Right.
Not worth it.
All right,
Not worth
guys. Thank you so much. I appreciate all of you being on the show. I appreciate you all in the audience. And guys, if you're watching on the rewind, come check out Comics Curing Cancer across multiple channels. Check us all out on Instagram. Check us out on YouTube. We got coverage for you. We're here to kick cancer's ass. And until next time, keep it casual. Attention all, use channel sponsor Rogue Trader at theroguetraderutah.com and my code, keep it casual, for 10% off your comic cleaning and pressing needs. Remember, when submitting your books to be graded, use a trusted professional.